KUGR.
Good morning, Cougs. You are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR, Cougar College Radio. It's a sports talk show where we're giving you updates, hot takes, and hopefully talk to some important people. I am joined in booth today with Connor Simmons and Connor Seuferling. How are we doing today, boys?
I'm doing pretty good.
Having a great morning.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful day on the Palouse today. It is game day. The Cougs are back home playing against Utah. It's going to be a pretty good game today. How are we feeling about it?
I think will be one of the games where it's not a close game versus a mediocre or bad team.
Yeah.
I think today we will win by at least, give me 15 plus. You know, it's a probably random score, but 15 plus. I think we get a game that's not close.
No, exactly.
Yeah, as long as John Mateer is able to get out of the pocket, I think they'll be fine. The Aggies are not a good team.
No.
Definitely a bottom of the Mountain West school. And I feel like the difference between them and a San Diego State, a Fresno State, is those teams have played up to their competition a few times this season. Utah State, I haven't really seen that too much. So I'm feeling confident. But if I'm willing to bet anything on this Cougs team, I will bet that it is a close game. Yeah. So I'm going to backtrack on you a little bit. And I think the scoring margin for the games for the rest of the season is going to be within a score in every single game. So maybe Cougs by a touchdown, 10 points, but that's where I'm headed with that one. Yeah.
Fairly close game. Yeah, no, I like it. It's been a while since we had the Cougs back on the Palouse. It was a bye week last week. We got ranked.
Away game before.
Yeah, the away game. So yeah, we're 22nd in the country at the moment. 7-1. So I mean, we're feeling pretty good. Hoping to make that 8-1 today. I mean,
and it just sucks because we will not make the playoffs. As the rankings, the first ever college football playoff rankings for the 12-man seed thing came out. I want to say 2 days ago.
Yeah,
and we're like 20th.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to. A lot has to happen. Well, we just have to win, and we can't. Here's the thing: like Connor just said, if his thing is perfectly like right and stuff like that, we have no chance. Yeah. Regardless, we win out. Mm-hmm. There's no chance whatsoever because they're gonna be like, you guys are barely beating Utah State, and you want to play Alabama.
Yeah,
that's what they're legit gonna say to us.
And you lost to Boise State. Like,
and
you win that game. Yeah.
And you got smoked. Your only loss is when you got smoked by another ranked team.
Yeah.
And that's all they're gonna look at and stuff like that. But
which is annoying.
On the other bright side, in the Palouse, we do have college basketball. 2-0.
Yep.
You know, maybe haven't played like top teams yet and stuff like that. But Bradley, pretty good school in my opinion. Like not a trash school by any means, but we got a good double-digit win against them. So.
Oh yeah.
Men's basketball coming up pretty soon. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was an impressive game. I loved how the big men spaced the floor a lot. Both of our Watts guys looked great.
Yeah.
I felt like I love what our coach is doing right now, just speaking things into existence. He's looking very energetic on the sidelines, getting the defense to play a little bit bigger than they are. And I just love the flow of the offense. Despite being, I think, it was like a 4 or 7 point game in both the games that we had, and neither of the teams we're playing are good schools. They're both mid-major schools with, their only way into the tournament is through their conference bid. So seeing it close at the half is not great, but just the way they turned it around at the end and really forced the other team's hands was great. And the transfers have been great as well. Coward's been on point. Love his 3-ball. It's really turning into shape. I like this way this team is playing so far, and I think they definitely have some potential to go another stretch. They just need to clutch up and play a little bit stronger in the first half.
Oh, and I think, if anything, it's kind of good we're playing these kind of mediocre down. Because, like we said, this is, I want to say, 8 new players, transfers. A lot of them have played together at Eastern and stuff. But this is a total different. Eastern still is D1, but this is a total different D1.
Yeah.
So we just got the chemistry going again, everything like that. New coach, new players, everything from new schools. There's a lot of new right now. And so you got to build off that. And wins obviously do help and stuff like that. But it's going to be hard because our division does have St. Mary's and the Zags in it.
Yeah.
So
tough teams.
It's like third place is almost like the best you can do kind of situation. But, yeah, you never know. I'm here for surprises. Exactly. We're still 2-0, so until we do lose, I'm still going to be rooting for them. So
yeah.
And to pitch in real quick, Gonzaga beat Baylor earlier this week by a lot. And so that's good for us. For the Cougs. So for every win Gonzaga's getting against really good teams, that increases, their strength of record and how they look.
That means
if we beat them,
exactly,
we look so much better.
If
go Zags until January when we face them in Spokane.
Yeah.
Or if you just lose instead of by 40 by 30, we're better than Baylor at that rate.
There you
go.
He's
looking from there as another ranked team. But
good stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, a lot of good sports back on the Palouse, basketball, football. I mean, I'm pretty hyped for the football game tonight. It's gonna be good.
Late night game.
Late night game, which I love those. The home games at night like that.
Loose after dark.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be hype. And it's been a while since we've had it back, the football back on the Palouse for a while. So I'm super hyped for that and for basketball. But let's switch. Let's talk about the Mariners really fast. Let's talk about. We talked about it last time in our episode about second base, the hole we have at second base right now. And I've been thinking about it. I think a possible solution to that could be Ha-Seong Kim on the Padres, who's a free agent in this offseason. We go after him. Decent hitter, great defensive player. You could go after him, and you could 100% fill that gap at second base and fill that gap in the batting order too, I feel like.
Well, I just feel like we've said this multiple times. Something needs to change. We need to buy a bat. We need to do something, whether it's big money, large money. Something new needs to happen. So I'm always gonna say I think you can do it. I think we can go get this guy. I'm always gonna be like, go get him and all that stuff. It's just a matter of it turning out for the better and stuff like that. But with what Kim's been doing, especially on the Padres, and he's batting pretty high. I want to say top 5 in the order and stuff like that. So why not? And he's pretty good at second base. He's not like mistakes, errors, anything like that. So why not?
Exactly.
I was down in San Diego in May range, and I saw Ha-Seong Kim play.
Yeah.
And I think he's a great player. The fans there love him. I mean, he's a household name for that Padres team. Obviously, there's bigger names on the team. You got Machado and Tatis, exactly, and it's Reyes and all that. And so he's not the number one name, but he's still well known there.
Yeah.
He's got a great personality, and I don't know what the infield market's looking like this offseason, but I would consider him a player where you might not have to spend upper tier money on him.
Absolutely.
And so I think he's definitely a player that's more in reach of what we tend to spend.
Yeah.
So I think he would be a great pickup, and he's not that old either. Upper 20s, I believe.
Something like that. He's pretty young.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
he's still got a little bit of room to grow, not necessarily as a prospect, but to fit into this Mariners team. And I think the way he plays defense and has a decent bat, he would fit right along in that lineup for sure.
Absolutely. And I think what you're talking about too, I 100% agree that, the fact that he's playing on a pretty stacked Padres team with like Tatis, Manny Machado, that whole group. I think that his value gets a little overshadowed by them. So you would probably be able to get him for a little bit cheaper than he's actually probably worth.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, what you're saying with the market right now in free agency, there are a couple pretty good infielders like Alex Bregman among them for the Astros. I mean, when you're in that company, you're going to get overlooked a little bit.
Fall down the rankings.
Exactly, yeah. So I think we can take advantage of that, him falling through the cracks a little bit, being not as expensive. And I know we're kind of a, bargain bucket team. Like, we'll go after kind of cheaper options. So if we can go after a cheaper option, Ha-Seong Kim, he'll play good baseball for us. So I think 100% we could go after him and get him for a bargain. I feel like we totally could. The other thing I also want to talk about, there is a Japanese pitcher at the moment who's going to hit free agency in 2025. His name is Hiroki Sasaki. From everything I've seen, he's a phenomenal pitcher. He pitched in the World Baseball Classic last year, I believe, with Shohei Ohtani. So, yeah, he was part of that rotation. So, I mean, you're pitching with pretty good company if you're pitching with Shohei. Yeah. So, he's looking pretty phenomenal. And everything I'm seeing is that, so he's going to go in free agency. He's probably going to go for league minimum. And, I mean, there's a pretty decent chance that the Mariners get him for a variety of reasons. I mean, you look at, first off, we have one of the best pitching rotations in all of baseball. So you'd be joining, you'd be among some of the best in baseball. We're one of the best ballparks, T-Mobile, in terms of for pitchers. Very pitcher friendly. It's really hard to hit home runs with the marine layer, that whole thing. And then, of course, also West Coast, huge Japanese population. There's a huge support network for Japanese players. And then with that too, you look at our track record. We have a history of producing prominent Japanese players. Ichiro being a very notable example. So we have a lot going in terms of our attractiveness to him, and I feel like if he's going for league minimum, again, like we said, like being getting for a bargain, we should go after that 100%, pick up another star pitcher, add him into our rotation. And I know that pitching wasn't a problem last year, but like we 100%, if we add another good arm and just completely dominate pitching, that helps us out immensely. So,
no, 100%, and. Like he was one of what is it called, the World Championship?
World Baseball Classic.
World Baseball Classic. He won that, beat Team USA, all that stuff with Shohei. just being on that, like, and I've seen all the, like, there's Japanese baseball schools now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he was, like, something that, like, went there, or, like, a prospect that went there and he's just dominating now. Again, like, he's asking for the minimum. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
He's probably going to receive league minimum, something like that.
Exactly. So it's like, it comes back to the question, why not again?
Mhm.
Why not? There was no reason you can't try it. If he's not good and he sucks, league minimum.
Yeah.
Like we just said, it's not like you're giving this guy 10 years, $100 million bag.
No.
Just he has to produce or your team's going to fail. Like, it's why not?
Exactly.
Why not? So.
I mean, we tried this with Yusei Kikuchi in the past, and obviously that didn't work out the same. But we paid him a lot more money than we will this guy, right? Like, I don't remember what it was, but it was like mid to upper tier pitcher money.
Yeah.
Especially after that first season, and so this guy with him being young, having more potential, and our ability to develop our staff has really been proven over the past few years. And I think, especially even in the lower parts of the farm system, I've liked what we've seen so far. So I think that would be a great move to have for the Mariners. Definitely. That's something I would look forward to adding. And, I mean, even like you said, even though pitching wasn't a problem, it never hurts to add to your staff. And honestly, hey, if we want to have literally the best staff in baseball, sure, that's great. And honestly, if we can be even slightly better than we were with pitching last year, that could be enough to earn us a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to work more on the strikeout rate, work more on, getting some extra base hits rather than, getting a bunch of singles and no home runs on the season. But I totally agree with you. I think that's something that would be in our ballpark.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the last thing I think we should talk about for the Mariners at the moment is, of course, the big dumper, Cal Raleigh, platinum glove winner, and a Silver Slugger finalist. I mean, what a season. 2024 was a just career high for him in everything. I mean, he was fun to watch defensively and at the plate as a switch hitter. I mean, I love Cal. He's just absolutely super, super fun to watch. And, I mean, it's just and from everything that I've heard, listening to him talk and everything, he likes Seattle. He wants to stay here is what it sounds like. I think he's got like about a year or so, maybe a little bit more on his contract. What I'm worried about, and you mentioned it about getting a playoff spot, I mean, if we don't do anything to keep him wanting to stay with us, and by that I mean like making the playoffs, going far in the playoffs. If we're not doing anything like that, I could 100% see him leaving very soon. Because, he's content right now, but if, in the coming years, we're still not producing anything, he could leave for a much better contender.
Oh, and it's just showing him some potential gets us going because he has all the awards right now. He knows he can probably go get a bag relatively pretty soon. And like you just said, it's showing him something. It's like, we're building something here, and you're a huge part of it. Yeah. So, like, stay. We'll give you the money, too, and everything like that. But big shout out for the platinum. Obviously, a very hard thing to do. Probably the best catcher in baseball, I'd say, the past season.
Absolutely.
So, we do have to show him something. We've talked about it, getting bats, better with pitching, whatever it is. Something has to happen for not just it's not even Cal. We're showing a lot of people why you want to come to Seattle. Julio's been coming up pretty damn soon. Yeah. So Julio's the face of the Mariners right now. So it's like you gotta have contentness somewhere in the organization. So.
Totally agree. I love the big dumper. He's got a great personality. Like you said, I think he loves Seattle. And, I mean, I've seen that in the past with a lot of players. I don't think it's just him that loves Seattle. But I think he has some sort of special connection, especially because we kind of raised him up, through the organization. He fought really hard to get in the spot. I remember checking probably 2 to 3 years ago, just being like, oh, I see this guy named Cal Raleigh in our system. He's pretty highly rated. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Then once he got out of the big leagues, I'm like, dang, this guy's good, right? He's got a great bat. I'd love to see a little bit more consistency, but out of a catcher, he does everything you need him to. And defensively, he was awesome this season. He's got a good arm. I think we haven't had a catcher of the future like this in a very long time. Yeah. Not even with the Zuninos of the world and all of that. Like, this is something different to me. And the connection he has with the pitching staff is also something that's really important, building that chemistry. And since a lot of these guys, like especially like Marco Gonzalez and a couple other guys, have been here for a few years now and worked with him, I think it is really important to keep him around. So, and for a catcher, especially one that's not top of the league right now. Obviously, he's great, but
Yeah.
not top of the league. I still think he's affordable, and I don't see why we wouldn't keep him in house.
Yeah.
And because he's still young too, right? Like he just got called up not that long ago. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a couple seasons now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so. Yeah, we better keep him. We better.
know.
He gave us our playoff appearance.
Oh,
appearance.
absolutely.
So
Like, as you were talking, I was gonna say too, like what you just said, that he gave us our playoff appearance. He'll forever be immortalized in Mariners history.
regardless of what
Seattle
happens.
history.
Yeah, I mean the go ahead home run, the walk off, everything, just to get us into the playoffs. Beautiful, one of the best radio or TV calls I've ever heard.
yeah.
It's just magical. I remember watching it live. It was just he will forever be a part of our history. Like,
Yep.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
But I feel like what I don't want to see happen is that he's one of those guys where it's like, oh wow, he sent us to the playoffs back in 2022, and then 4 years later he left because he never did anything else ever again with the Mariners, and then goes off and have like a Teoscar situation.
yeah.
You go and you win a World Series with another team because then you bring your talent.
When
there.
here's the thing, it's not like it is like a Teoscar situation, but like
Yeah.
it was almost a bargain with Teoscar kind of thing.
Yeah.
With Cal, the big dumper hitting free agency, he's gonna get a bag.
100%.
So it's like, oh, this guy's gonna add something to your team. He's like all-star catcher, and it's like he's gonna be a difference maker. So it's like,
Totally.
people are gonna go after him.
Yeah.
So it's like, why even let him hit it?
Yeah.
In the free agent market.
And I mean, and you mentioned it too, Connor, with the relationship he has with the pitchers. One of the things too is that being as good as he is at throwing guys out on the base paths, right? Like his stats for that are absolutely amazing. So it's next to impossible to steal on him. He will catch you most of the time. As a pitcher, if you have a guy like that behind the plate who's just throwing guys out like that and controlling the run game like that, it gives you a lot of confidence because
Someone you could trust.
exactly, yeah, because if you get a guy on base, something like that, you can breathe easy because you know that you can pitch and that he will handle that for you, and you don't have to worry about it. You can go after the next guy. That's a big thing in pitching. It's like you walk a guy, you get a base hit. Hey, focus on the next guy. That catcher behind the plate, Cal Raleigh, he will handle those guys for you, and that's so big. It's so important to have a guy like that on your team. And again, too, I think he's such a good personality. He's a very mellow guy. He clearly loves playing for us. And I really don't want to see him, his feelings about it start. Because, yeah, he says, I like playing in Seattle. I want to keep playing now. But, a lot can happen in 2-3 years.
Yeah, there's only, what, you said 1 year left on his deal?
About close to around that, I think.
Yeah, a year or two. Yeah, that's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time can fly.
Exactly. No. So that's pretty much all we got for the Mariners. Hopefully we hold on to Cal Raleigh. Let's take a look at Ha-Sung Kim. Pretty good, decent chance we get Roki Sasaki. Let's talk about the Seahawks. I mean, game against the Rams, went to overtime, lost it 26-20. Just the one thing I'm going to say is just the O-line was garbage for us. Absolute garbage. It was
And
just...
The O-line's been horrible even when the Russell Wilson era. Like, that was always, like, find some O-linemen for Russell.
Yeah.
Always the thing. And I know it's a new team and we're trying to build stuff, but, like, 3-0 and 1-5. Even those 3-0 game, when we went 3-0, don't get me wrong, they were pretty bad teams. Like, going to overtime versus the Patriots, looking where they are now, like the number 2 pick in the draft is just, looking back, it's unacceptable and stuff like that. The Seahawks it's almost something we have to accept is that we're not a good team this year.
Yeah,
Straight
a
up.
little bit.
It's like something, it's bound to happen. As soon as we played a good team, we lost. And another good team, we lost by 30 with the Bills, it felt like. That's just a horrible game.
Yeah.
Like, we can't put them together. At this point, you just got to find bright spots in the wins or in the losses. Like, JSN was a bright spot.
Absolutely.
Well, I know, like, obviously you
game.
can say, like, oh, every time DK's out, average 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, okay, DK's going to come back, find a way to get him more involved.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett's going to be out the door pretty soon. Everyone loves Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
But JSN has to step into that role really damn soon.
Exactly.
So just find the bright spots.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's, I don't know, lineman that's doing good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, start building that around the left guard a little bit.
Yeah.
So on defense, had a pretty good game, I thought, for the most part. They forced a lot of 3-and-outs. They did the best they could do.
Yeah.
Especially, But it's like when Puka Nacua was out for a half.
Yeah.
And DeMarcus Robinson
Yeah.
is scoring the game-winning 40-yard touchdown on us. And what is happening?
Exactly.
I don't know where the Seahawks really are right now, but just find the bright spots. That's all I'm going to say.
Totally.
The personnel is all there to me. I mean, there's still plenty of areas to improve, but the personnel is all there to me. It's just the execution. Again, I am not putting any of this on Mike McDonald. It is not
Yes.
him. Just miscues when it matters most. Not converting on that fourth down in overtime. There's just so many situations where it's like they're there. They have the opportunity. They just can't finish it. They can't get that last step. Or they just go on like 4-3 and outs in a row and can't do anything, right? And so you either don't execute when it matters most, or they go on these long stretches of just not getting the offense going the way they want to. And I think that definitely has an effect on the defense as well, and really it forces them to be on the field a lot more than they want to, tires them out, and it's just this dynamic between the two sides of the ball just hasn't been working. Yeah. And again, I talked last week. It's like we have a lot of injuries on the offensive line. You can only, they suck. We can just flat out say it. But you can only blame them so much due to injuries. But I think the connection between Geno and the receivers, besides JSN, but Lockett, I haven't seen him be super active. He's getting older. Metcalf injured, but like their connection's been a little off to me at times too. I think for this team, like you said, a great point is just getting anything out of these games that they can, so that way they can build each week, and hopefully by the end of the season, even if they're 6-10, 7-9,
manageable,
or 7-10, 8-9, whatever, they've learned a lot about themselves, and they're like, okay, next season I've got a little more chemistry, and I'm a little more confident.
And I can hop off that real fast because if they do that 8-9, 7-10, that's not a bad season by any means. Obviously they make the playoffs, but going into the next season with all these young guys, it's like we almost made it. And we weren't even playing the best of our ability. That's how I always look at it, whether you're playing a sport or anything like, well, we almost beat these guys, and we're not even 100%, all that stuff. So you have that almost more confidence and stuff like that. And the division is really close. Like I said, we were not the best team, a relatively bad team for the most part in some of these games. Yeah. But the season isn't over.
We're still within a game of first.
Or tying first. We're lucky the division isn't going the way like they're supposed to with the 49ers, Cardinals have been a little surprised. We're lucky the Rams have been injured that early on in the season, so they weren't able to get wins out and stuff like that. Yeah. Every single game from here on out is going to be important, but the season isn't over. Right. No, absolutely not. We're dogging on them and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's out of love. But exactly. It's not over. We can still 100% make the playoffs, even just get something sustainable out of it. Yeah. Just to be like, if you're playing the Seahawks, like they're fighting for the playoffs. Like they're not gonna come out and just like lie down. So.
And you, Connor, you mentioned it before too. We have the personnel. That's why going into this season, I was really hopeful. I was looking at the guys we got. You got DK, you got JSN, you got Tyler Lockett, you got Fant. Geno was looking pretty good. Looking at it, that's why going into the season, I thought, all right, we could make a pretty decent run. We could make playoffs. Those first 3 games, you go 3-0, and I was like, all right, they weren't the best games, like you're mentioning, against bad teams. You're getting these close games that you probably shouldn't be getting, and then we haven't been able to win a single game. Or actually, sorry, we were able to pick up a win against Atlanta, but just loss after loss after loss, and in close games. Like even looking at the Rams game. That the Rams did not play good football. No, they didn't have all the Puka got taken out, ejected about halfway through or something like that.
The defense forced them to 3 and outs. Yeah, relatively early on in the game.
Good defensive game for the Seahawks. Yeah. Mike McDonald, he's running that defense really, really well. The Bills game was like the worst example we've seen.
That's a blip.
Yeah, exactly. It's a blip, exactly. But ever since coming into this Rams game, the defense tightened up. They looked good. They were holding the Rams. To 20 points through 4 quarters is phenomenal. And the only reason why the Rams were even able to take that to overtime is because the Seahawks 2 times they were less than 10 yards out and they throw 2 picks. Yeah. One of them was a 102-yard pick 6. Yeah. That's just, and it goes back to the O-line. Geno doesn't have enough time to find somebody. He has to throw it away, and he throws it into their arms. And again, we were dogging on Geno in our last episode and everything for some good reasons. He's showing some cracks, but the other part of it is that he can't do very much if he's not given enough time to actually do anything.
And he's older quarterback. He can't. Yeah. Obviously, I think Geno moves really fast for the most part, but he's older. He's not going to move as fast as he was and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know where the Seahawks really, because there's a lot of ways they can go in, especially in this draft class. Because it's a very deep draft class quarterback-wise and stuff like that. But it's like, you do have another year Geno. Yep. Geno's leading the league in passing. Yep. with that being said, play calling, I don't think he should be passing as much
No.
where he should be leading the passing.
Run the ball more.
So, exactly. You have Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. You have good running backs. You can, keep going like that. But at the same time, it's like, do you take an O-lineman?
Mm-hmm.
Do you take a D-lineman, whatever, linebacker, and then next year look for the quarterback? So, a lot of things can go either way. But like we said, Geno, he's doing the best of his ability. And we said it last week, especially Connor said, this is like he knows this is his last chance these next 2 years. So he's going to play his heart out. He's going to care more.
Totally.
He's going to get pissed off easier. He's going to be happier easier. A whole bunch of emotions are running through the roof right now.
Yeah.
And the season's not over. I think the Seahawks, bye week, reset kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we just keep moving on.
Exactly.
Yeah, brief talking point to the draft class. I'm not convinced the Seahawks will ever take a quarterback in the first round. I could see us picking up some, I don't know, Quinn Ewers, second, third round. He's hanging out there. Nobody's picking him up yet. And okay, project quarterback.
Exactly.
I mean, he's not a project, but, enough of a project. He'll probably sit a season and a half, and then get into the work. I could see that happening, but I'm just not convinced, even if we get a top 15 pick, which is probably what we're going to be looking at this year if we don't make the playoffs. I'm not convinced we would take anybody like Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, anybody like that.
Yeah.
Carson Beck, whatever.
Well, I don't think we'll be bad enough for that.
And we're probably not even going to be bad enough to have a top 10 pick. And even in the top 10, I'm like, I don't know. I see John Schneider looking at offensive lineman, even getting a little risky and going after some sort of skill player. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he also loves his D-line. So,
Yeah.
one of those options. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this team goes. I'm not sure. Again, not convinced we'll take a quarterback. So,
Yeah.
we're riding with Geno unless something interesting happens. So give Geno what he needs.
Exactly. No, totally. And I mean, looking at this team, looking at the losses we've taken, and again, going back to this being Mike McDonald's first year, this is just, for him, I think this is an experiment year. This is for him to get his feet wet in the head coach position, figure out what tools he's got, what tools he doesn't have, and then be able to work from that. So I think, a lot of people... again, we were talking about earlier in other episodes too, where people are getting mad about Mike McDonald, being like, he's awful, he's not running them the Seahawks right or anything like that. And again, we'll remind them that it's his first year as a head coach, and for anybody who has the first year as a head coach, you're going to be working out the kinks. You got to figure out what works, what doesn't work. You gotta experiment. And I mean, like what you say, Connor, our season, we're probably not going to make the playoffs this year, or it's going to be really close. I mean, we got to admit that we're not that good of a team. I mean, no fan of any team wants to have to admit that it's a rebuilding year, but we kind of got to start to admit that it's looking like a rebuilding year for us a little bit.
Which is okay. We'll live with that. We had success in the past decade, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
At least we're not in a Mariners situation where one playoff appearance in frickin' forever.
They've never left that rebuilding year ever. Yeah,
exactly.
So.
Besides the
They've been
year.
rebuilding for the 40 years.
Yeah. No, but I mean, and you guys mentioned it earlier, JSN stepping up and filling with DK and Fant out, stepping up, putting up a career game, and with the fact that you mentioned, Tyler Lockett, he's getting old. He's not going to be around for very much longer. If we trade him or if he retires, someone's got to fill that role. And JSN looks like the guy to fill that role. Exactly. I can 100% see him doing that, being our number one best wide receiver, because he's a talent. He is phenomenal to watch play. Yes. And when you got guys out and you just force feed him the ball, he'll get stuff done. Picked up 2 touchdowns in that Rams game. I love him. He's 100% going to fill that role. So that's one of those guys that Mike McDonald should be looking at, being like, this is a tool I got. This is a weapon I got moving into next year. And then, of course, with the O-line, you got to fix some problems there. Go get some guys who can actually protect Geno a little bit. And then defense, I mean, looking good. I mean, except for the chemistry issues we saw in the Bills game, fighting on the sideline. That's horrible. But besides that, I think Mike McDonald's, I think he's nipped that in the butt. I think he's tightened them up. They looked good in that Rams game like we were mentioning before. But, yeah, for the Seahawks, it's just, I'd say they're playing against the 49ers. We have a bye week this week. We're not playing. Next week we're going against the 49ers. We played them earlier. They're good. Brock Purdy, George Kittle. It's a good combo. I mean, just try and lock in offensively. Do something with the O-line to get you guys to get some chemistry between them and Geno so that they can protect him. And I mean, just try and win that game.
Yeah. I definitely agree with everything you said there. I really like how young our skill position players are. It's great because there's building blocks. Zach Charbonnet is probably arguably the best RB2 in the entirety of the NFL, which is great. Love having that depth. JSN had a big game. One guy I thought was underrated in the game was AJ Barner, our rookie tight end out of Michigan. He was great. He had 4 receptions, 27 yards. I thought he did a great job blocking, getting out in the flat, except for the one where Gino threw an interception.
Yeah.
That's not Barner's fault at all.
Yeah.
Did a great job getting the routes on, and so he looked good behind Fant. So I feel like we have got a future at a lot of these skill positions. It's just a matter of executing and then building back up the offensive line. And then the schedule coming up is definitely tough, and we're entering a critical stretch. Obviously, got the bye week. Then we got the 49ers Cardinals back-to-back.
Yep.
Those are 2 really important division games. If we lose those both, I think the division's
goodbye.
the division's out of reach, and we're just kind of stuck hoping to get some wins here and there. If we win both or even one of them, we're still definitely in the division, especially if we win that Cardinals game. To me, that's the more important of the two because the Cardinals have the foot up in the division right now, and they have head-to-head wins over the Rams and the 49ers. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. A critical point.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And definitely, I think, like we were talking about, is being a rebuilding year for the Seahawks. The mentality in that locker room needs to be that everyone's looking at you, looking at the Seahawks team, saying that this is a rebuilding year, and you gotta just, as the team, every single player on that roster has to say, no, it's not. This is not a rebuilding year. We're making the playoffs this year. They got to have that mentality. Even if it might not be true, but you just got to think that way. You got to have that mentality because if you don't have that mentality, if you're sitting there thinking like, yeah, they're right, this is a rebuilding year,
Season's over.
Season's over. As soon as that thought comes into your head,
You're screwed.
You're done.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. So just for the Seahawks, it's just got to be mentally, be tough. Remind yourself that you are playing in the National Football League and that every single year
You have a chance.
you have a chance. The ownership can sit there and think this is a rebuilding year, but the players every single year got to be thinking we're going all the way.
On
That's
a
the
Super
mentality.
Bowl. Yeah, no, and here's the thing. Like we said, this year, the window hasn't closed. The door hasn't closed.
No.
Like, by all means, 4 and 5 probably isn't where you want to be in week 9.
No.
Especially starting out 3-0.
Yeah.
But by all means, we're still there.
Mm-hmm.
We're still there. Like, and as a player, especially probably Gino's thinking it more than anybody. He's like,
Yeah.
we're still in this.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's
Mentality.
go. We just got to win a couple more games. Like, even Joe Burrow, when they were like, I want to say they were 3 and 5 or something like that. And the press conference, he's like, well, all we have to do is win six out of the 8 games. I think our team can do that.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to think. He's like, I think we can make the playoffs with 10 wins, so just win 6 out of the 8.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to think like that. That's all you have to do is think. You don't have to be like, we have to win this week. Obviously, you want to win every week, but just like work for something. Work for something. Okay, obviously you want to work for the playoffs. How are you going to the playoffs? Hey, well, let's try and go 2-3 the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Boom, and you just got to keep going from there. But window hasn't closed. Seahawks are still there. It's a matter of them. It's on them.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally agree. I think the mindset's definitely important. I'm hoping that the staff sticks around all together next year and that we don't blame anybody so that we can build up some more chemistry and get that mentality going. Mike McDonald has been very adamant, and the stuff I've read about him in camp and stuff like that, he's super serious. He's on people's butts about everything, and he cares about players being physical, in condition, and playing good football. And that's what matters most. And even if we can bring in another guy, honestly, maybe an older veteran coach or something like that in an advisory role, I think that'd be great to just continue to instill this mentality on the team. I'm going to give a little update real quick. Georgia Tech is up by 5, 28-23, with 2 minutes left to go.
it was the ball.
Miami just has the ball. So 2-minute drill for Miami. We'll see if that upset happens or if Cam Ward comes in clutch again. Former Coug going at it. So
Yeah, I mean, just a quick thing on Miami. I think they're frauds. I know I'm so serious. I think they're frauds because they got saved by a Hail Mary. They had to come back 21 versus a non-ranked team.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be a top 5 team in college, championship contenders and all this stuff, and you're barely scraping out. Georgia Tech right now. How the hell do you have less points than Georgia Tech in the fourth quarter? A whole bunch of stuff like that, and you're not going to say you're Georgia Tech. It was a trap game. BS.
Yeah.
That's such BS. No, Miami, you have to be winning games by 40. It's one thing if this was the Cougs.
true.
Doing on there 7-1 where it's like, it's Washington State, let's just try and get this one, let's go. No, if you're Miami, you can't be barely getting by.
No.
I don't care if you're putting up these, like Cam Ward is obviously doing his thing, putting up crazy stat line, Heisman, candidate and stuff like that. But that can't be happening.
No.
That can't be happening. You can't be having close games versus, I'm pretty sure all their close games have been versus non-ranked teams. So it's like, how does that even happen? And they have a pretty easy schedule too.
That's true. That's
so,
true.
Like, it's not like we've seen Oregon play in Ohio State, Michigan, other teams, Alabama and Georgia, and just so on and so on. But it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, if Miami loses, I'll agree with you, but I'm gonna disagree with you on them being a fluke just because they keep doing it.
They keep winning.
And I'm like, how do you keep doing it?
Exactly. No, you're right.
You know, and so Cam Ward's clutch.
Oh, Cam Ward just threw a pick, didn't he?
Fumble recovery, Georgia Tech. I think that's the game, guys. On the Miami 17 too. So all they have to do is
Hit a field goal.
and it's
that's
an
game.
8-point game, and
Okay.
that's it. Yep.
Perfect.
So okay,
Interesting. All right.
On
Miami.
live air, I was proving
Miami
right.
is a fluke. I repeat, Miami is a fluke.
Right.
Interesting.
Screw Cam Ward.
Yep.
All right, let's move on.
On
Yeah,
live.
yeah.
That's
On
the first
live?
time that's probably happened on live.
Yeah.
Interesting. No.
Yeah, good stuff.
Let's
All
go.
right.
Oh, yeah, no,
Hockey.
sorry, yeah.
All right,
Let's-
Smith,
let's
get
move
us
on. Let's
in.
talk about
Get
the
us in.
Kraken. I mean, look, 4 losses against 4 playoff teams. We talked about this in our
Yup.
last episode. I mean, you lose to Toronto, playoff team. You lose to Ottawa, another playoff team. Boston, Colorado. I mean, after you had a win against the Montreal Canadiens, 8-2, I was feeling pretty good. I was like, all right, we got a little bit of juice going, something offensively. Let's take it to these really good teams. And then we play playoff
Good teams,
teams, and we just couldn't get it done. And it's just, and I was talking to you guys about this earlier. They weren't. I wouldn't say we necessarily got not blown out,
Pushed
or
over,
pushed over in any of these games. We were in them. We were putting offensive pressure on them, but we were getting horribly unlucky. Just shots off the crossbar, off the post. We're getting good looks.
Puck luck, man.
Puck luck, exactly.
Most important thing, yeah.
In hockey, yeah. And the one thing I'd say that really lost us those games was our defense. Our defense was not clutch at all. We're leaving guys unmarked. So, like, even watching the game, you can see that guy on the wing. He's open. And I'm like, why has no one marked him? Why is no one on him? Puck over, open net, shot, score. Again and again and again. And it was super frustrating to watch.
And that's the worst is in hockey, when you see the play happening,
Yes.
especially against your team, you know it's going to, like,
Yep.
and okay, in football, it's one thing, okay, you see the guy getting open, but in hockey, when you see a guy get open
Yep.
and see a play wrapping around, they're passing, and the guy gets open, it's like, oh my, and then you just see it, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But we talked about it last week. We did say, like, coming off a big 8-2 win, 8-2 win, wow.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Whatchamacallit,
The words.
we're relatively even, like, I think we were, 5-5-2?
I think we were just above 500.
Exactly. So doing relatively good in the season, early on and stuff like that. And then we talked about it. We got 4 playoff teams coming up, and to lose every single one, we're not there yet.
No.
That is just it proves right there. We're gonna get one edge, one out.
No.
We did beat Vegas, who is a playoff team.
Yes.
But we have to
clutch
win
win.
away.
Yeah.
We have to win away games. I know they were all away, maybe tired, beat up on themselves, just want to go home.
Yeah.
And then beat Vegas in overtime is a huge one. But going to overtime again.
Yeah.
We got to be able to beat them in 60 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that long of a stretch with losses against good playoff teams is tough. I mean, I think to me that just demonstrates like you said, they're not ready.
No.
And they've got a ways to go. I mean, it'll be great if they can just rack up wins against some of these teams that aren't quite as good or is definitely worse than them and weren't playoff teams last year. But it's still, especially when we get to the middle part of the season, it's going to be crucial to get at least a few wins, even if against playoff teams, even if they're at home, whatever, just to build some momentum and instill some confidence that they can actually get it done.
Yeah.
But I do think this 4-3 overtime win was huge. It's definitely, hopefully it's a turning point for the team to really tell themselves we've got a chance. And Tanev and McCann were both great in that game.
Beautiful games.
Yeah. Tanev 2 goals, and that was great. And then McCann had the game winner in overtime. Love to see that. He's been great this season from everything I can tell. So hopefully he's a building point going forward, and we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, no, that Golden Knights game. Look, that 3-game losing streak, and I would even say the Canadiens game too. I mean, looking at those losses in that game, they just weren't fun hockey games to watch. Like, you're watching them, you know that feeling. You're watching a game, and you're just like, this isn't entertaining. This isn't fun to watch. Even if you lose, like, you can watch a game where you lose, and you can still be entertained. They just weren't fun to watch. That Golden Knights game, absolutely loved every single second of it. I was tuned in 100% watching it. Brandon Tanev, like you mentioned, he's been quiet all year. For such a playmaker, a aggressive guy, he's really good on the forecheck. I mean, so that's why he doesn't, point-wise, he doesn't put up that much because he's the guy who gets his body in front of pucks, forechecks, gets some steals, sets up a play, and he passes it, lets somebody else score for him. But to see him I think he had a breakaway for one of his goals, and then they set him up beautifully for a second one. To see him scoring goals, picking up points like that, I love it. I love to watch him. It's Turbo Tanev. He's got the energy. He's super fun to watch. And then, of course, Jared McCann, like you said, just consistently, he's been a stud for us past couple years. I think I was showing you this the other day. If you look back at the stats for the Kraken from 2021 all the way to now, Jared McCann has led us in points every single year, and by in some years by a lot, like significantly,
like 71, 56 a second.
Yeah. And I mean, just to have a talent like that on your team, I love it. I think he's criminally underrated in the NHL. I think he's a phenomenal goal scorer. He's super fun to watch. And the goal he won it in for overtime with us for the Golden Knights was just super fun to watch. It was just got to break away, one-on-one with the goalie. And when McCann gets one-on-one with the goalie, he's going to score. Just backhand sauce, score, hit a nice celly.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
As a goalie, any player comes up on you, it's like,
Yeah. No, but I mean, against our Western rival, the two youngest hockey teams in the whole NHL, the Golden Knights and the Kraken, we don't like each other. So that was a pretty good game to win at home against one of our rivals in overtime. Get some momentum back, because like we were talking about it earlier. We were like about, I think, 5-5, like, or a little bit over 500 last time we did the show. We went from like, I think, 5-5 to about 5-8.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, what happened? And then now we're 6-8, so we can build a little bit. We've fallen down significantly in the rankings. I mean, with those losses against pretty good teams. But I think you take that win against the Golden Knights. That's a momentum building win. Everything was clicking, everything was firing, everything was looking good. Take that momentum, go win some more games, get back up to 500, and keep producing and everything like that.
We just got to keep stacking them.
Yeah.
And like Connor was talking about, we have to at least find a way to win against some of the good teams at least here and there, even if we're not ready and stuff like that. Because we're going to have games where we do lose against the bad teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where, like, it's a long 82-game season right there. So it's like, if you can't beat the good teams, at one point the bad teams are going to start to beat you, regardless if you're still the better team. Mm-hmm. It's just, we had a bad game. Oh, no, Grubauer just let in 5 in the first 2 periods. Like, not saying it was going to happen, but, like, stuff like that, it's just games, where it's just like, it wasn't our day. And it was versus, the Buffalo Sabres, aren't that good of a team and stuff like that. So we have to find a way just to at least turn it up a little bit more. Obviously, I'm not thinking we're championship contenders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but just like, let's try and stretch some wins across. You know, just try and get some wins going.
Yeah, they're 6-8-1. They're definitely not out of the contention. They're still there. It's an early season, like you said. So long way to go. But like you said, we need to build some momentum now before it gets too late. Yeah.
And then you mentioned Grubauer too. I want to talk about. So Grubauer at the moment, he's out with a head injury that he sustained at home. All the writing on it is a little vague, so they don't explain what exactly happened.
Who knows what he's doing? Maybe he hit his head on a toaster or something.
No, exactly. That's whenever they're vague about it, I get a little suspicious.
Playing baseball with his
something like that. But yeah, no, he's out with a head injury, so Joey Daccord is going to be the number 1 goalie right now for us. In the meantime, they've called up Stetska from I believe he was with the Coachella Firebirds. They brought him up. We saw him play a little bit in preseason. He's decent. He's like what you think of when you think of a backup goalie in the NHL. So, and we talked about it in our last show that where the Kraken were in a really unique position where we have 2 goalies
that are above average.
That are well above average, yeah. And now we're kind of in the situation where a lot of other teams are, where we have 1 good goalie and we have our minor league talent backup goalie.
Yeah.
And like nothing against that guy, he looked good, but I don't think he's not as good as Joey Daccord or Grubauer. So.
Well, I don't think he'll be up here long. Like the head injury didn't, it didn't seem like serious. Or they'd come out and be like, oh, he's gonna be out 3-4 weeks, stuff like this.
Yeah.
But. If he can come in here, play 2 games and somehow get a win, thank you for your time. You know, we'll send him back down. Mm-hmm. Something else happens, he's back up. You can be confident with him. Yeah. And he's a young guy, so build his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said with Joe, I feel like that talking point kind of has spoken into existence. Like, oh, we have a great backup goalie. Now we're using him. Yeah, right? It's like, how did that happen? But it's great to have a guy like Joey on the team. Daccord's been great. And so I'm feeling confident going into the situation, even if Grubauer's out for like 1 to 2 weeks. I don't even know how long it'll be, but I can't imagine more than that.
Yeah.
So to miss a few games, I think we're in good hands. So it's going to be more up to the offense to get some more goals and to actually create some separation in these games rather than winning by 1 or losing by 6.
Well, and this is where it comes into play. Like we said, and wanted Joey Daccord to step in that main role kind of position and stuff like that. Well, he's in the part where it's like, you're the only like competent starter and stuff like that we're gonna have. Mm-hmm. So he's gonna have to probably play a good 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
So and that's what real starters in the league do. Mm-hmm. When like the top dogs and stuff like that. So if he can only get better from here. Shoot, man, it's looking good.
No, I mean, I think Joey's been waiting for his moment to be 100% in the spotlight when you're sharing it with Grubauer and everything. And I think that now is just what you're saying. Now is his chance, I feel like, to kind of
separate from the pack.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there are so many examples in sports history where a guy is the starter. He's 100% the starter. That's his job. This is the position he plays. He gets hurt, or he's like, I don't know. I don't feel like I can start today, coach. And he like sits out a game, right? You put in a backup, and then then he takes that spot, and you never hear about the other guy ever again.
Well, exactly, and like I think Tom Brady's talked about it and stuff like that. He's like, if you really want it, you hate when the backup goes in, even if you're up by 40. You hate when this happens, and as much as like he hates it, he was the backup.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get injured. Like there's this video of Mahomes going viral from like last year, like hurt his ankle and they want him to go to get an X-ray. He's like, no, I'm going to half. Like he's like cursing, like and reading stuff out because these athletes do know that it's like if the backup comes in and dominates, even if you're Patrick Mahomes, there's questions where it's like if Mahomes has a hurt ankle, do we start the backup? And there's always going to be questions, and that's going to hurt you mentally and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you never want the backup to go in no matter who you are because that's how people get chances.
Yeah.
That injuries happen. That's how people get chances. That's how we have all the stories to tell, the underdogs, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And this is DeCord's chance. So.
Shout out to Chad Henne for possibly taking Patrick Mahomes' job when he got that ankle injury.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yeah, we like Grubauer. Grubauer's good. He's a great goalie, but I think personality-wise and the love for Seattle, I think Joey DeCord's our guy in terms of being the. I think he's probably going to be. I think he has the potential to develop into a better goalie than Grubauer. And I think he's getting his chance right here, and so you don't want to see him squander. He put up a pretty good game against the Golden Knights. It was a pretty great defensively, so I like him. So hopefully he can take advantage of this little stretch he's got. And the other thing we want to talk about too is Mariners just traded for Daniel Sprong from Vancouver. We gave them, I believe, some future considerations, which I think is just basically talk for draft picks later on. But Daniel Sprong, former Kraken, he played with us, I believe, 2022 through 2023. We ended up trading him to the Canucks, so we get him back onto our roster. I mean, it's an interesting move to do that. He was good. He was decent with us. He's probably gonna fill in that fourth line basically, so we get some more production all around. Because I think that fourth line's like the only place where we got room for him basically. But he's decent. He's not standout like McCann or anything like that. But
depth.
He's depth. Yeah. Exactly. That's the perfect word to use. He adds depth to the lines that we have. But yeah, I think he's probably a good addition. So.
Yeah, it's always good to get some chemistry. I'm not always a fan of bringing back a player that you previously, got rid of or let go because you might not trust them or you let go of them for a reason.
Exactly.
But this is the kind of player where it's like there's only going to be good things that come out of it. If it doesn't work out, it's fine, right? Mm-hmm. But if it does work out, great. You got a player who's going to provide great stuff off the bench. Get in some shifts when players need some rest and has some chemistry already with this team, especially for a few players that have been around for a while like McCann. And I'm hoping he meshes with the new coaching staff as well, and they can coach the best out of him, especially because you talked up their relationship with each other and their coaching experience in the minor leagues for sure.
Well, and like you said, like I agree 100% with you. Like there's not a lot of risk to what the reward can be. Mm-hmm. Like obviously the reward is not a 100-point season and stuff like that, but like he's teaches the young guys a little bit more, has the depth. He's not going to be like a liability. We obviously hope in that fourth line, and he's depth. You only get stronger with this. So like we said, the risk reward factor is in our favor. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's giving me almost flashbacks. I know it's gone from hockey to baseball, but it's giving me flashbacks to the Mitch Haniger situation. I mean, Mitch Haniger plays with the Mariners for a while. I can't remember if we traded him or if he became a free agent because it was a while ago. Yeah. But then we bring him back onto the roster again for last season.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I loved Mitch Haniger because I grew up watching him and everything. Phenomenal outfielder when he was playing for us. I mean, to bring him back onto the roster, I think it was the smartest move. I think he's a decent player, but I didn't think he really produced that much in 2024. It was kind of a weird move. So I'm sometimes I'm worried about looking at that and then looking at what we're doing with Sprong. It almost is giving me flashbacks to that, where it's like you're going to bring a guy back on and he's not going to be as good as he was when he was with you before. But But no, I think Daniel Sprong is probably going to be just like what you mentioned, depth. Just literally help that fourth line get production going, so then you can just keep scoring goals. Because I think, we've had games where we've put up, 7 goals, 6 goals, 8 goals against, granted, bad teams.
Yeah.
And going back to that too, you look at the wins we picked up so far this season, we haven't really beat great teams. We've beaten Philadelphia, the Predators, Montreal, who are horrible.
And the good team is a barely in Vegas in
super
overtime.
close. Because the Vegas is the first good team we've actually beat this year.
And it had to take an extra period.
Yeah, we had to go to overtime in order to win it. I mean, it's just way too close a game. So I think if you get someone on there who can fill that depth in that fourth line, you could see us scoring an extra goal here and there, gain a little bit of distance, and then winning those games. And I mean, yeah. And going back to that Golden Knights game, I just remembered too, what was super stressful about it too is that we took the lead 3-2 in that third period. They pulled the goalie about 2 minutes left or something like that. And I was watching, and they scored. And oh my gosh, I was watching it. I was like the 6-on-5 and everything. I was just like, come on guys, let's just hold out.
Let's clear it.
I was screaming. I was just like, throw it at the net. Just try and get it and fling it. And then I just watched them set up this play, and I'm like, no.
You see it happening,
You go through all 5 stages of grief as you're watching this happen.
Good way to describe it.
Yeah, you score with 30 seconds left. And I was like, so we're going to overtime. And I was just, I was devastated. And again, it's a close game. It's like,
exactly.
You realize when you play good teams, like if you're kind of a mid-level team and you play against a good team, you see they'll score with 30 seconds left. They'll tie up that game. They want it really bad.
Well, and it's getting to the point where it's like, where do you, like, we don't know which direction we're going here.
Yeah.
And obviously the best teams, it's super early on in the season where, again, we can't really judge.
No.
And the best teams are very good. Like, I think the Oilers, oldest team in the league, they always start off super poorly in the mid-season.
Yeah.
It's because all the young teams are tired. They know, the older guys, like, since we're the oldest team in the league, they know how to, like, treat the mid-season. What do I need to do? Like, and you just learn from that and stuff. So I'm hoping, like, Daniel Sprong and stuff like that. I just want us to get better as a team.
Yeah.
Get a couple wins, string them along, and everything like that. So.
Yeah, thank goodness they pulled it out. I mean, you just got to be prepared against a team like the Knights. I mean, like they're ready, and like you said, any team with playoff experience or with any significant talent is going to be pushing you down to the wire, especially like even in the regular season down 3-2 with like pulling your goalie and showing that, you want to put in effort like that. That's just saying something. So you got to be ready for those things, and I think this team still has a lot to work with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let's move on real quick. Let's go to our last segment of the day.
Yes.
We're going with cash out or crash out. So this segment, each of us, we put together a sports bet that we think we're gonna. If you were to put it, if you think you would cash out or would you crash out?
And this is to help the viewers at home get some more money.
Exactly.
There you
Give
go.
some advice. Totally. So yeah, let's go with it. Let's start. Connor, do you want to start with yours?
Yes. So we're going back to college basketball.
I love to see it.
And obviously I'm gonna give good reasoning, but we have a parlay. So what I'm gonna say is Baylor versus Arkansas, 2 ranked matchups. I want to say Arkansas's 6th team with now John Calipari, a legendary coach, and who's 1-0, and then Baylor, who just got smoked by the Zags by like 40. They're still the 8th seed because rankings haven't changed and stuff like that yet.
Yeah.
But in this game, it's back in Baylor. They're gonna be pissed off. Arkansas, they almost, even though they're a top-ranked team, only beat. Do you guys know where Lipscomb is? College Lipscomb.
No, sir.
Only beat them by 16 points.
Oh gosh.
That's telling.
So
Yeah.
it's exactly. Imagine
That's
like if
rough.
Gonzaga played Lipscomb or something like that. So I'm not too confident in Arkansas right now. They're a whole new coaching staff, a bunch of new players, transfers, a whole stuff like that. Baylor's pissed off. They're back home. So I'm taking Baylor to win it, and then I'm taking the under on the points, which is 155.5. So that's the 2 things you can parlay, which is Baylor winning and under 155 total points.
Yeah.
Then going to the next game, Auburn versus Houston. The reason why I saw this game and stood out and stuff like that, Houston, obviously a great team, Final Four contenders the past couple years, number 1 seed in the division, a whole bunch of stuff like that. So I'm obviously taking Houston to win, and it's in Houston.
Yeah.
But also on the other side, Auburn yesterday, 45 minutes into their flight, horseplay turned into a fight on the plane.
Yeah.
And they had to turn the plane around. So something's happening in that locker room right now. I don't know if you can really change that in one day, as they had to leave for the flight this morning instead. And I don't know if you really have to, if there's enough time to really change it or be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's always something deep down, at least the day after and stuff like that. So for the team to get into a fight, which is a top-ranked team, everything like that, I'm taking Houston to win and then the over at 141 points. Because
Gotcha.
I don't think there's going to be I think it's going to be a fast-moving game
Yeah.
and everything like that. So those are my 4 lines. Baylor winning, under 155 points. Houston winning, over 141 points. And that is my parlay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying cash out on this one. I think you mean looking at it, I think you're right. I think Baylor's going to be probably a little angry, and you lost against Gonzaga or something like that. I like that one. And again, the chemistry issues with Auburn. I mean, it's like we saw it with the Seahawks too. If you're fighting each other like that, you
There's
got
something
problems.
wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: both these teams are ranked. Like all 4 teams that are playing are ranked, so it's like this could go either way and stuff like that. Obviously, Houston and Baylor are ranked higher and stuff.
Yeah.
But the reasonings that I looked into these for the other teams is like you're barely beating Lipscomb.
Yeah.
I could even be saying the name college wrong for hell as I know.
Yeah.
And then
Lipscomb, I think, but
Yeah.
same idea, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even a D1 college. Then Arkansas or Auburn to be fighting on a plane for it to turn around
Yeah.
is just insane to me.
Yeah.
And like you can't get rid of that in the day of. So that's where I'm going with today.
Yeah. I like that.
You're gonna cash out. I'm gonna crash out on this one,
Ah.
man. Yeah, I get totally where you're coming from, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little rebellious today, and I don't know. From what I saw, obviously Gonzaga is just an amazing team. From what I saw from Scott Drew's team against Mark Few's team in that game, is not giving me any confidence. And Calipari,
No,
he's had his
100%.
issues in the past. But these have been really young teams. This Arkansas team, they've got a couple of recruits, but I think he also got some transfers, and he's building off the experience that was there last year. So I had actually take Arkansas over Baylor in that game. I'm going to be able to
100%.
go out on a limb there.
Yeah.
And then with the Auburn-Houston game, I totally get where you're coming from with that, too. Houston's always such a good defensive team. But I'm never one to count out Bruce Pearl. And I'm also leaning towards Auburn on that one, so I'm gonna crash out on yours.
No, hey, that's fine.
I respect it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over to mine real quick.
Go for it.
I'm looking at the NHL, looking at the games today on Saturday. I mean, I'd put a parlay just going with, I'd say Panthers versus the Flyers. I'm going with Panthers winning that. You got the Bruins against the Senators. To be honest, I'm going Bruins. I'm a Bruins fan. I like Brad Marchand, so I'm going with the Bruins on that. I think they're playing pretty good. Canadians, Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs are going to win that all day long. I mean, the Canadians 4-8. We beat them 8-2. I mean, they are just not a good hockey team whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then of course, I'm going to probably finish it off with Hurricanes versus Avalanche.
Yeah.
Those are 2 really good playoff teams. But I mean, look, Hurricanes 10-2.
Yeah.
Avalanche 6-8.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Avalanche are due for a win. And to be honest, I think the Hurricanes are kind of frauds because I think they've been every single year they say like, oh, the Hurricanes are going to go all the way. They're going to be
the top 3 seed.
yeah, and then they never do, and they make the playoffs and they play really well, but then they fall later in the playoffs. And so I'm going with taking a look at it. I'm going to parlay just saying Panthers win, Bruins win, Maple Leafs win, and Avalanche win. Just because I think Avalanche just all around are a better team.
And I agree with a lot of that. Hockey is super hard to negotiate because that's almost like baseball, where it's like the worst. Like Maple Leafs can get smoked apparently.
Yeah.
Like the other day, Sabres beat the Rangers 6-1. Hockey's really hard. I like the Avalanche take because they're gonna be underdogs, so they're gonna be like plus 100 something.
Yep.
Whatever, and they are due for a win. They're trying to turn it around and stuff like that. With that being said, though, I can't. I'm a crash out because their goaltending situation's horrible.
Yeah.
They're injured. Colorado, they're home right now, and they're just like almost. It's just like down. Also, breaking news: Dak Prescott is out for the season.
No way, what happened?
I know he got put on the IR,
Yeah.
but I didn't know he was out for the season.
I'm sorry.
You're good. What's the
what?
injury?
Well,
Dak
yeah,
Prescott
yeah.
hamstring to undergo season-ending injury pending the opinion of one final specialist.
Man, a hamstring too. That's a
And he
tough
also had a
injury.
thing with his finger where he was out already 2-3 weeks.
Fair enough.
Cowboy season was already looking kind of over.
Yeah, they already sucked anyway. So
Another day I'm happy to not be a Cowboys fan.
Exactly.
I was never happy to be anywhere near the Cowboys.
Exactly. But going back to the tape,
Yeah.
it's also because you took the first 3 teams are favorites, which they're supposed to win, but
Totally.
it's the NHL Hockey League.
You're not going to cash out very much. But
Exactly. You're not going to cash out very much.
Safer bet.
It's a safer bet and stuff like that. I don't know if Colorado can. It's not something I'm opposed to and stuff like that. But it's also the chances are just like all the favorites winning. You never know.
Exactly.
And I can't tell you which. Like at least Connor was able to tell me what he thinks is wrong with the bet.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like I don't know because it's win or loss. It's
Exactly.
not
You
like-
gave a reason.
Exactly.
The whole goaltending situation. That's a
Yeah,
reason.
I like that.
No,
reason.
100%,
Totally. You're
so-
100% right with that.
I'm gonna cash in on yours. I'm gonna go
Nice.
opposite of you again. I I also get where you're coming from. I'm not the biggest hockey guy, so I don't totally know the situations of all these teams.
Totally.
But everything you explained gave me confidence that there's a lot of safe bets in there.
Yes.
And it could be close, like especially if just one game goes wrong, you're kind of screwed.
So
it could go any way. But if you were to take a parlay in hockey this week, I like that one the best. So I'm gonna cash in on yours.
Like with that bet, you're not making a lot of money.
No.
It's more just like, go get some money, kind of like situation stuff like that.
Like you said, the part of it that will win the most money is if the Avalanche win.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one out of the four that's is like
the
not
plus.
Like the
You're in the plus in that situation. That's where you're gonna get to like the $50 margin if you bet 10.
It's the squeaky shopping cart wheel. It's the one that's not like the other ones. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, rather than going between a parlay between one sport, I'm just gonna hop it between a couple of individual things I like seeing.
All right.
I'm gonna start with a prop bet that I like from the Clippers-Toronto game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So Norman Powell's taking on his, I believe, former team in the Raptors.
Like 3 years ago.
Yep, exactly. And I'm going to take the over on 23.5 points.
I like that. I love Norman Powell
yes,
this year.
he has been a dog this season. He's averaging, I don't know, I think right around
27.
25, 26, maybe even 27. He's been absolutely tearing it up. I love how 3-level scorer. He's actually he's always been a good scorer, but he's really taking it into his own hands to create some offense because James Harden's great, but he's kind of at the point in his career where he's a facilitator. Exactly.
Yes.
He's going to be dishing the ball a lot more, occasional step back threes. So for the Clippers to have somebody that can take over the game when they need it, especially from a guy that's generally been underrated throughout his entire career and someone you don't expect to pop off at the last minute, I think that's something you should totally go for. And then something else I want to go towards, I'm going to switch to the NFL now.
Gotcha.
I'm going to take Bo Nix over 32.5 passing attempts on the game. I think it's going to be such a high passing volume game. So it's Chiefs-Broncos.
Okay.
That's
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
The Broncos have definitely there's been a few games where they've scored a lot, but they also play down to opponents sometimes too and really get on the ground game. This is a game where I think it just gets aired out, and I'm almost leaning towards the Broncos taking that game.
Yeah.
I think there's a general possibility that could happen, and so I'm really excited to see it. Hopefully an air out battle in one of the Chiefs' first like true high scoring games of the season, because a lot of their wins have been like 21-17 and whatever. They're grinding it out at the last minute.
Totally.
And final thing I'm going to jump to, this is a future bet. I'm going to take Jayhawks for Big 12 title in college basketball.
Ooh.
I think it's a done deal after beating UNC. Yeah, I'm convinced. I mean, they gave up a 20-point lead, and Hunter Dickinson's one of the besides Cooper Flagg, he's one of the guys for the
MVP
player of the year, exactly. Wooden Award or Naismith Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And so I trust this team. I've been a Jayhawks guy all my life because my dad grew up there. So, but Houston's great, but like I told you earlier, I think Bruce Pearl's team has a chance to beat them. So I'm taking the Jayhawks. Anyway, that's my three. That's my three randoms.
Okay. I mean, look, I'm gonna go crash out. Only because for Bo Nix. You said it's over 32 pass attempts. Mm-hmm. I mean,
It's a lot.
I know it's a lot. I'm just a Bo Nix hater. I just don't think he's, I don't like the Broncos. I don't like Bo Nix. I know he struggled, I think, in the first part of the year, and then he's kind of turned it on a little bit. But I don't know. Against the Chiefs, I mean, the Chiefs they're still undefeated.
Yeah.
And I mean, their defense is going to probably be good. And I mean, I just can't. That's the only reason. The other two, I could see those happen, but just with the Bo Nix situation, I'm just a certified Bo Nix hater, so I'll never take that bet. So
I'm also with Smith here. I'm gonna crash out.
All good.
I love the Jayhawks one, and I love the Norman Powell one. Like, he also dropped the greatest quote of all time this year: "Addition by subtraction," with Paul George, even, which is an amazing quote, by the way. Especially since he's balling out now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if he's like,
he is Paul George now.
Yeah, exactly. If he's dropping like 12 and shooting the ball horribly, that's a whole meme now. Like, all that stuff. But love Norman Powell. Love how the Clippers are winning. Love that bet. I can't see the Broncos coming into. Is it in Kansas City, Arrowhead?
I think so. Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it's like I just can't see them coming into the stadium. They're undefeated. Just came off a primetime win. And 32 pass attempts, here's the thing. They could get smoked, and that can still happen.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Sean Payton's going to allow that versus a relatively really good defense.
Yeah.
Like a top 10, top 5 defense.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton's a relatively smart coach. I thought the Broncos were going to be one of the worst teams this year, and they're just finding ways to win and stuff like that. And that's the only reason is the Bo Nix line.
No,
parlay.
that's totally fair.
would-
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a normal parlay, so I get it, right? Like
Exactly.
I'm throwing out
And
random
I was about
stuff
say, and
just to see what happens.
You're making money on this thing. 'Cause
Exactly.
Also, this is like a year-long parlay with the
Yeah.
Kansas City Jayhawks thing.
Exactly,
Or
exactly.
Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, exactly.
It would cash out big if it hit, but I just
Oh,
don't
for
think it
sure.
would.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, I'm taking bold stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big believer in this Bo Nix one. I think that's
Yeah.
the one I wanted to
Exactly.
jump
Go
on
big,
and
go
see what
home.
happens.
No,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
well, the worst thing is like, okay, you find out Norman Powell, tonight. You find out.
I
if you
totally
win
believe
bet.
that one
You
happening.
yeah, exactly. You find out if, like, say, Bo Nix does hit,
Yeah.
then you have to wait
Yep.
3 months for Kansas, and that's where you just stress.
Right,
sweating,
exactly.
sweating.
Which is why I wouldn't do that in real life if I
Yeah.
were to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly,
Well,
yeah.
for the viewers at home, what do you guys think? Who had
Totally.
the best cash out, crash out, whatever?
Yeah.
What
Let
line
us
are you
know.
guys
Be sure to
wanna
let us
take?
know. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, looking at the schedule coming up, Seahawks playing against the 49ers next Sunday. I can't remember what time it's at. Kraken playing this Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That should be a pretty good game. I think it's
At home?
At home, yeah.
Good
I think
stuff.
we're on a homestand right now for a while, actually. But I think 5 games. And then Mariners, countdown to the season. I think we got 140-ish days.
That's
so
not bad.
I know. I'm itching. I'm itching every single day for some baseball, man. I want it really bad.
Hey, spring training is right around the corner. You just gotta believe it. It's not even that far from spring semester for us. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and then of course Cougs playing basketball. They got University of Idaho coming up soon.
On
Monday. So that
Should be a win.
Yeah, pretty fun one to
And
watch.
then football tonight. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, 7:00 kickoff. I'm looking forward to that hype. So hopefully we keep the streak going. Go 8-1. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll do it for the episode today. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. It is a beautiful, beautiful day on the Palouse today. Remember, it is a great day to have a great day, and go Cougs.